At number 10 we have the Screaming Forest. Wow, this place sounds like a great spot for a honeymoon. We should head over there right after we visit the Lake of Lava and sell our souls to the devil. This place is in Britain, which has a rich history of hauntings all over the place. It's the little village of Plucky that is surrounded by the Daring Woods, or as some people call them, the Screaming Woods. Now why would people call them that? Well, because at night or even sometimes during the day, screams can be heard flowing out of them. I probably should have guessed that, that really makes sense. But wait, there is more that goes along with this terrifying place. It's said that people who go and explore these woods get lost in them, never to come out. There is a fog that will roll in and make it so you can never find your way out of these deep dark woods. The voices that can be heard screaming from there are all the people who wandered through the woods, got lost, and their souls are forever trapped walking. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on this one. At number 9 we have the Devil's Trampling Ground. There's a patch of land in North Carolina that has some super bad mojo on it. It's unknown what happened to this little circle, but for some reason nothing grows there. The area is surrounded by forests, but this circle stays dead. How does this happen? Is there something in the soil? Well, there's higher than normal levels of radiation, which some people think means a UFO landed there, and the energy from the ship is what caused this constant death. However, the legend that stands the test of time is that the devil comes out in this area at night and walks around, using this place as an area where you can walk and think. It's Lucifer's meditation spot in the woods. Oh, that's actually kinda cute. Legend goes even deeper to say no camper has ever been able to spend a night in this circle. At number 8 we have the Epping Forest. We are heading back to the UK for a forest that is packed full of lost bodies. It's unknown how many people are buried in these woods, but some people think it could be hundreds. Back in the 1700s, people came to these woods to dispose of bodies. It was also the place where Dick Turpin would rob people and do other horrible things to travelers who were unlucky enough to be caught by him while they were walking through the woods. There have been many ghost sightings in these deep, dark, creepy woods along with Turpin himself. He still calls these woods home, and perhaps he even still preys on people who walk through there, tormenting their souls for eternity. At number 7 we have the Forest of Brocéliande. We've spent enough time in the UK, let's head over to another part of Europe. How about France? The forest is home to the Valley of No Return. I think we can just stop there. Once you hear the Valley of No Return, you don't need to ask any more questions as to why this place is cursed. It's cursed because if you go there you won't make it out. You'll probably get your head ripped off by some sort of tree ghost or something. Well, I'll give you a little bit more backstory as to why it should freak you out even more. The Valley of No Return is said to be cursed by Morgan Le Fay, the evil sorceress who is said to be related to the great King Arthur. You know, the dude who pulled the sword out of the stone and became a superhero or whatever? Well, his half-sister put a hex on this valley that would attract young men to it, seduce them into the forest to be lost forever, specifically young men who had been unfaithful. So if you've cheated on anyone recently, you're not going to want to take a walk through these woods, or Morgan is going to cast a spell on you that will turn you into a roll of toilet paper or something. At number 6 we have the Witchwood Forest. I know I said we were done with the UK, but I lied. It turns out they have a ton of hauntings going on over there, and a lot of them take place in the woods. The Witchwood Forest is home to the ghost of Amy Robsart, and you may be asking, who is she? And I don't blame you, because I didn't know either until I did this list. I thought she was a pop singer or something, but turns out that's not even close. Why would there be a pop singer walking through the woods? But I digress. She was the wife of the Earl of Leicester, and out of nowhere she died of a broken neck. Pretty suspicious if you ask me. Well, the Earl went hunting in the Witchwood Forest not long after that, and his young wife met him there. Well, it wasn't his young wife, but it was the ghost of his young wife who was walking through the woods. She told him that he was gonna die in 10 days. You know, like the movie The Ring probably stole this from her. Well, guess what, guys? He did, and it said that her ghost still walks around the forest to this day, cursing people to an early death. At number 5 we have the Pine Barrens. Oh, we finally made it there. We made it to a monster. You can't have a list of cursed forests without a good old-fashioned monster making it onto the list. What is more cursed than a massive thing flying around and eating people? I love it. Well, the Pine Barrens is in New Jersey, and it's said to be home to none other than the Jersey Devil. What on earth is the Jersey Devil, you may ask? Well, it's said to be a massive monster that has bat wings, hooves, claws, horns, and the appetite for large animals, mainly eating deers, cows, and goats, but I wouldn't be surprised if it chose to chomp down on a person every now and again. That's why we need to stop deforestation. Forget about climate change. The Jersey Devil is gonna fly out of the forest into your home and then eat you in the middle of the night. At number 4 we have the Freetown State Forest. Holy moly, the Freetown State Forest is basically the History Channel at 3 AM. Apparently everything goes on there. There have been UFOs, demons, cultists, ghosts, werewolves, even Bigfoot likes to walk through this place when he's feeling bored. Why have there been so many crazy things happening in this one place? Well, it's because someone pissed off the Wampanoag tribe. They were the Native Americans that used to call this place home. They would party there, live there, and they were probably doing great until greed took over their chief and he sold their land. Like, what the hell, dude? That is so uncool. You can't just sell everyone's homes for your own gain. Well, the people of the tribe weren't going to take this lying down, and they decided that they would muster up the spiritual energy that they had and put a curse on the land. Now it pulls in all sorts of bad mojo, and you do not want to mess with this area. And number 3, we have the Smolensk forest in Russia. Now this forest doesn't seem to have a curse on it, but it has an insane amount of spectral activity, which is basically a curse. You can't walk through this place alone without having 15 ghosts follow you out asking for you to avenge them. So I think that qualifies for this list. Also, the story about this place is horrifying, so I thought it was perfect for the list, because just reading about what happened here scared the crap out of me. It was back in World War II when some German troops were walking through this forest. They came across an open patch of land that had been recently dug up. Russian troops were in the area, so it would have been an order of Joseph Stalin to dig up this area, but why did they do it? Upon further inspection, it was discovered that the reason the land was dug up was for a mass grave. 20,000 Polish people lay dead in this hole. So you put that many dead bodies in one place and you can bet there is some unsettling spectral activity that goes on there non-stop. At number 2, we have the Dow Hill Forest. Right off the bat, there is a road in this forest called Death Road. Doesn't that sound like a great place to hang out if you want to live a long and prosperous life? Yeah. So what makes this forest cursed? Well, it is a hot spot for murderers. Killers have been using these woods as a place to stalk and kill people for centuries. Some people say it's just a good spot to kill people and that's why they keep doing it. Other people say there is a dark energy coming from the woods that attracts people who want to hurt other people. On top of that, there are past victims who walk through these woods. Ghosts of headless boys have been seen frequently. And for the number 1 spot, we have the Hoibasiu Forest in Romania. Okay, we are topping this list with a big one. If you're a fan of this channel, you have heard us talk about this place before, but there's really no other forest that should be on top of this list. The forest has been called the most haunted place in the world. People who just walk through this forest sometimes vomit and have panic attacks. Some people believe that there's a rift in space and time that opens up in the forest, allowing demons and ghosts and other dimensional beings to walk through into our realm. People have experienced possession and all sorts of other things happening to their body while they're walking through these woods. You can go spend a night there if you want, but some people come back mentally broken. On top of that, all the vegetation in this area grows in crazy ways, like there's some sort of force manipulating them. The trees literally grow on an angle and then straight up. It's so bizarre.
Starting off this list, at number 10, we have Ilsa de las Muñeces in Mexico. And I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry. But you've all seen these pictures before. And if you haven't, well, get ready to brace yourselves because this is some pretty creepy stuff. Okay, see, what did I tell you? This is what nightmares are made of, and you guys have seen it before, these pictures. Well, let me tell you how this creepy doll forest started. On this island, a caretaker found a body of a girl in one of the canals. He found the doll floating in the water and he decided to hang it from one of the trees as some sort of like tribute. He continued to hang thousands of dolls until he drowned in the exact same spot where that girl died. Some people believe that the dolls are evil, while others believe that the dolls keep the island safe. So today a lot of tourists come to visit this island. I personally don't see the appeal. I definitely don't have this creepy doll island on my bucket list, but for those people who visit the island, they say that they can see the dolls move their eyes, heads, and limbs. I mean, no thanks. I guess the dolls must be possessed by evil spirits or something, but I'm not about to go there and find out. I'm not about that life. Up next, number 9, we have the Pine Barrens. The forest spans over 1 million acres and it is located in New Jersey. According to the local legend, the Jersey Devil is known to roam around this forest. He was born in 1735, except he didn't look like a child. He was born with leather wings, a ghost head, and hooves. He flew up a chimney and into the forest, and he has been killing livestock and creeping out the residents ever since. Locals living near the forest can hear high-pitched screams, and they're too scared to venture into these woods because they don't want to come face to face with this demon. Coming into number 8, we have the Wychwood Forest in England. Hands reaching out and touching you, and a horse-drawn cart carrying a couple of their crying children. Well, these are just a few things that you'll see if you decide for some reason to go inside of these woods. But one of the scariest legends that originated in this forest is about Amy Robsart. She mysteriously died of a broken neck, but she confronted her husband as a ghost and told him that he will join her in 10 days. And sure enough, he died after becoming ill with an unknown reason, but it also said that anyone who walks into this forest and sees Amy Robsart will die shortly after. So yeah, my recommendation would be to stay far, far away from these woods. The Freeton Fall River State Forest is next up at number 7. Now this is pretty unlucky, number 7. This forest is known as a paranormal breeding ground. It is believed to be the shire of a bunch of satanic murders that occurred in the 70s and the 80s. There have been creepy UFO sightings here, poltergeist activity, and fireballs emerging just out of nowhere. The forest is also said to be the home to a race of humanoid creatures known as pickwedges. These creatures look like troll beats that are known to cause trouble. They will intentionally startle people, throw rock or sand in their faces, push or shove them, kidnap them, hurl them off a cliff, wrestle them, or even attack them with knives or spears. These creatures have been blamed for a lot of deaths that have occurred here, and people still report seeing them in this forest. The Devil's Tramping Ground curses us in at number 6. Located in North Carolina, these woods are known as one of the most haunted places in this state. The Devil's Tramping Ground is located deep within a forest, but it is a perfectly round 40-foot circle, and the circle doesn't have one single flower, weed, or blade of grass. That's because anything that gets planted here will either wither and die. If that doesn't seem strange to you, if you put an object in the circle before sunset, it will violently be thrown out of the circle before sunrise. When dogs get too close to the circle, they will whimper and bark, and they would refuse to go in. People have tried to spend the night in the circle, but no one has been able to do it, or they have gone insane. It is believed that this is where the devil comes out at night to do his pacing and thinking. Because of this area has a really bad reputation. Well, yeah, no duh. People have seen red eyes glowing there at night, and they can feel like something bad is about to happen. Well, here's a clip of two guys who thought it would be, a great idea to visit the Devil's Tramping Ground. What they found will shock you.
Or had to get out here in a hurry.
The Burial Ground Forest takes us into number 5. Let's travel over to England and into the Epping Forest. This forest is so large that it's become a very popular hideout for criminals on the run, and it's also a very notorious forest for dead bodies. This 6,000-acre forest has been the hideout for a lot of dangerous criminals and murders. So yeah, this definitely isn't a nice place for kids to play in, and on top of that, there are hundreds of dead bodies buried in these woods from gruesome murders. Oh, and a lot of children were targeted here by Ronald Jepson, who was a very sick pedophile and murderer. It is also said that cars parked on Hangman's Hill are said to roll uphill when they're parked in neutral. I don't know why you would ever park your car on Hangman's Hill. I mean, the name alone says it all. The Screaming Woods come onto this list at number 4. Well, this sounds like the absolute worst place to host a camping trip. I mean, am I right? The actual name of this place is Durwing Woods, and it is located in Somerton, England. Hikers have said they can hear blood-curdling screams coming from the forest at night, and they can also hear footsteps and whispers on foggy days. Apparently, a man was captured and killed in these woods by local villagers in the 18th century, and it is believed that his ghost still holds a grudge and will do anything in his power to harm the living. While others believe that the hauntings are caused by 20 ghosts who were found dead in the forest from a massacre that occurred in 1948. Autopsies were done on the bodies, but they couldn't determine a cause of death. The Dow Hill Forest comes crashing on this list like just like that at number 3. And yeah, I'm doing my own sound effects for this one because why not? Well, this forest has its own fair share of gory murders, and lots of people have seen a headless boy wandering around in the trees along the path. This creepy path is known as Death Road, and if you ever find yourself walking around this path, you will feel like you're being constantly watched by something evil. Some people have even seen the red eyes staring at them. There's even a ghost of a woman dressed in gray, and you aren't supposed to look or talk to her. And there is something in the air that will make you feel like you're losing your mind. And for some, the air makes them kill themselves. And now at number 2, we have the Suicide Forest in Japan. Obviously, no haunted forest list could be be complete without this infamous forest. The Suicide Forest can be found at the base of Mount Fuji, and it's arguably one of the most scary places in the entire world. There are rumors that the iron in these woods interfere with compasses, which causes hikers to go in the wrong direction, and they will go deeper and deeper into the woods. These hikers will become so lost that they can't find their way out. But what makes things even worse is that the forest has been the site of more than 500 reported suicides since the 1950s. People claim that they can hear their spirits scream throughout the night, and you can hear necks breaking. And yes, this is the infamous forest that, Logan Paul did his shenanigans in. You guys know the whole thing, I'm not gonna get into it. Coming in number 1, we have the most haunted forest in the world, the Hoia Baciu Woods, located in Romania. It's almost like this guy named the forest after he sneezed. Baciu. Well, if you value your life, you will never ever step foot in these forests, and I'll tell you why. It covers 250 hectares of land, and it is referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of the country. It has a reputation for intense paranormal activity and unexplained things that have happened here. Brave people who have entered these woods have seen ghosts, faces appearing in photos, unexplained figures, and UFO sightings. If you go into this forest, you will feel intense anxiety and feel like you're being watched. People who live near the forest are afraid to go in because they believe the people who visit will never return home. Some of the locals who were crazy enough to go inside complained of having rashes, nausea, vomiting, migraines, burns, scratches, anxieties, and other weird feelings. But get this, some people even believe that the forest is a gateway to another dimension. People have been known to disappear in these woods, and strange lights can also be seen. A 5-year-old girl wandered into the woods and got lost, but apparently she came out of the woods 5 years later, wearing the same clothes, but she actually had no memory of what happened within those 5 years. I mean, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. When I read that, I couldn't believe it.
At number 10, we have Griffith Park, Los Angeles, USA. This park is a pretty famous tourist destination. People from all over this world will come to this place to see the spot where Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone did some dances from La La Land. Personally, I never saw the movie, so I don't really care. But beyond this forest being blessed by the presence of Hollywood A-listers, it has also been cursed. The park was previously owned by Don Antonio Felice. He was a wealthy man and he had a niece per Tanya. Things were going pretty good for them. They're all rich and stuff. They're living in a massive park. Then the family hit some hard times. Don got smallpox and died in 1863. This would be an even worse outcome for his niece. She thought she was gonna get a big payday when her uncle passed, but turns out he left her nothing in his will. So she put a curse on the whole park. Since then, there have been several murders, fires, and even satanic rituals inside this park. At number 9, we have Eden Park, Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're in Cincinnati, Ohio, chances are you're already having a pretty bad day. You probably just watched the Cincinnati Bengals lose and now you're on your way to watch the Reds do the same. But if you wanted to make your time there a little worse, you might want to take a stroll through Eden Park. This place is apparently haunted by the ghost of Imogene Remus. She was killed in the park by her husband. It was 1927 and she was on her way to the law office to get some divorce papers so she could leave her husband. Well, he didn't like this very much, so he chased her down in his car and shot her dead right in the park. It is said that now the park is haunted by the lady in the black dress. At number 8, we have Elfin Forest, San Diego, USA. A common theme for this list is a lot of gruesome things can happen in a forest. I thought they were all supposed to be cherry picking and picnic, but there's also lynchings and massacres. Who knew? Elfin Forest has a ton of supernatural tales about it. It's said to be the home of mythical creatures. If you're there the right time of year, you can see them frolicking through the forest. Now, if magic monsters isn't enough to get you hyped up, you should go check out this place for something a little more rooted in reality. In the 1800s, the forest was occupied by several different groups of gypsies. Now, gypsies get a very mixed reaction, and apparently the townfolk living close to this forest really didn't like them. They hated them so much that they went in with some pitchforks and torches to drive them all out. Many of the gypsies made it away, but the few that weren't quick enough were killed. The survivors then cursed the land, and if there's anything I don't want to do, it's mess with gypsy curses. Now the forest is said to be super haunted. There's apparently a ghost of a headless horseman riding a black stallion, and some ghostly ladies in red dresses floating all around. At number 7 we have Jack London State Historic Park, Glen Ellen, USA. Jack London is a famous author, so famous that he actually got a whole state park named after him. I mean, if I lived my whole life and did awesome things, so awesome that people wanted to name something after me, I would probably want a burrito chain. But I guess a park is fine too, I just think it's kinda lame. But this park was named after Jack because his family used to live out there on their massive ranch. He was even building his dream home out on this park until a huge fire burned it down. What a bummer. He didn't even get to see it finished before he died. Now the wreckage just sits on the park, and apparently him and his wife were both buried in the park, and now they haunt the burned down house. Like, dude, get over it, the house is gone, you're dead, it's time to move on. At number 6 we have Highgate Cemetery, London, England. This cemetery was established in the middle of a forest back in the 1800s. The problem with building a cemetery in the middle of a forest is it takes a lot of upkeep, and apparently this was way too much work because it wasn't long before the place was pretty much abandoned and the forest started to take over. It remains a landmark, but a forgotten one. But when it became a hot spot to shoot horror movies, there was a surge of new visitors. This breath of fresh air also brought some new rumors about the park being plagued by supernatural things, mainly vampires. Rumors started to swirl around that some of the graves had vampires in them and that people had spotted a floating pale figure dressed in all black. This got vampire hunters from all over the world all hot and bothered, so they started to travel there to the park, dig up the graves, and stab the dead bodies in the hearts with wooden stakes, just in case, which I totally support. The people are dead, they don't care if you dig them up, and if they are vampires, then I want to make sure they're dead. And if vampire hunting does nothing for you, another reason to visit this park is there's famous people buried there. Kinda cool. At number 5 we have Hunting Island, South Carolina, USA. The Hunting Island State Park is not only home to a beautiful lush forest, but also a mysterious lighthouse. Nothing like a good old-fashioned lighthouse ghost. The lighthouse is at the edge of the forest and has a few different specters that have been seen roaming around it. There's one of an old grumpy lighthouse keeper who has never forgiven himself for a young boy drowning on the premises, and the other is of his daughter that killed herself inside the lighthouse. This guy can't catch a break, I'm sorry dude. At number 4 we have the Black Forest, Germany. This place seems to be ripped right out of a fairy tale. We could go on for hours and hours about the different legends involving this forest. It's said to be the home of different species of dwarves, elves, and a whole bunch of other things that coexist. If you're interested in getting some werewolf powers, there's also said to be werewolves in this place. And there's a king who will steal your girlfriend and take her to his underwater world. I don't know if he teaches you how to breathe underwater before he kidnaps you, but there's nothing about that in the brochure. This is the kind of place that I would like to avoid, because I don't want to be the guy who walks into a forest and then some little fairy is like, "You're the chosen one," and then I gotta spend the next 6 months saving some magical beings from a dark lord. Like, I have plans this weekend, I don't have time for this. At number 3 we have the China State Camp Park, San Rafael, USA. It's beautiful, it's right next to the beach, it's the kind of place you go on one knee and propose to the person you want to be with for the rest of your life. But it's also the spot of one of the darkest murders I've ever heard about. A young girl and her family and her boyfriend were all out for a nice family barbecue in the park. Probably had one of those little portable grills, a bunch of burgers, maybe they were gonna roast some marshmallows at the end of the night. Well, for whatever reason, this wonderful evening inspired this young girl and her boyfriend to kill the girl's parents. And instead of roasting marshmallows at the end of the night, they ended up burning her dead parents' body parts on a campfire to try and get rid of the evidence. Aokigahara Forest, Japan. I'm sure a lot of you at home remember when Logan Paul did his little trip over to this forest for some views. The Aokigahara Forest is at the base of Mount Fuji and is better known for its name, the Suicide Forest. It has been the most popular spot in the world for people to kill themselves. People who enter this forest for any other reason, say to go for a hike, might run into the body of someone who went in there to end their own. Police visit this forest often to remove the bodies, but because of the density of the forest and the twisting paths, it can be very hard to locate people's dead bodies. It's also very easy to get lost in there. If all that wasn't enough for you to want to jump out of your skin, then I'll let you know this is also a hot spot for ghosts and demons. Many Japanese legends tell of demons that live in the forest. They say demons corrupt the minds of people, and that's why so many people travel there to kill themselves in the forest. At number number 1, we have Yosemite National Park, California, USA. For our number 1 spot, we have one of the most beautiful places in all of America. For real, you cannot come here without gaining a massive appreciation for nature and exploring the outdoors. It's actually breathtaking. Even though this place should be on everyone's travel list, I will let you know there are a few ghosties hiding there. Two of the most famous ghosts that make their home there are Chief Tenaya. He was the former chief of the Awatichi Nation. People aren't sure why his spirit is yet to move on to the other side. Some people think he's protecting the park, and other people think he might be a guide for people who get lost in the gorgeous landscape. But for sure the biggest celebrity you could run into from the spectral realm would be John F. Kennedy. It's said that his ghost has been seen walking around the Alhani Hotel located in the park. If any of you viewers are planning a trip there and you see him, please just walk up to him for me and say, "Hey, I think you got something on your head."